Blinding dust storms, heavy rain, and widespread lightning all make for highly unpredictable weather patterns this time of year. I'm Rafetta Corella, this is Pinal Central, and in this 4-part series brought to you by APS, we'll explore the monsoon season, talk to experts to find out how these storms work, and what you can do to make sure you're prepared for the worst.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Cameron Lee. I'm a sergeant with the Arizona Department of Public Safety.
Sergeant Cameron Lee, Thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to know first a little bit about what are some of the problems that monsoons can create for drivers while they're out on the highways.
Yeah, so monsoons, it really are a neat experience in Arizona. They bring obvious beauty, they reinvigorate the desert and make it green. The hardest part with the monsoon is they're so unpredictable. Mm-hmm. We can look and kind of guess the weather and in a general area of maybe where a heavy monsoon rain might come, but we won't know when that's going to fall and where that's going to fall, and that makes it very hard. With that, and sometimes prior to the rain or the haboobs, the big dust storms that we see, especially in Pinal County, those are a little more predictable. So when those happen, that's when we tend to see our traffic issues, is with the dust storms. Because a lot of people don't realize when you get into a dust storm, I compare it to a blizzard, and I've driven in these dust storms. Mm-hmm. You get inside of these and you lose all visibility. Yeah. So oftentimes you can't even see the front of your car. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a very dangerous situation. And so we have, several tips, different things we ask motorists to try and do. It's not a perfect scenario. It's not a perfect system really, but it's the best that we can offer. The suggestions that we give, and ask the motorists to follow them the best they can to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you give us some insight as to what some of those tips are, what drivers can do to stay safe during monsoon season?
Yeah, so we work closely with ADOT, and ADOT has recently put in new dust detection systems along the I-10 corridor, which will be very helpful. But with the dust storms, those are a little more predictable. You can see them coming. Yeah. So the best thing to do, right, is to get off of the highway before you even get inside of a dust storm. You can exit the road. If you're at a place where there is no exit ahead, what we ask motorists to do is to pull completely off the road, as far off the road as you can. Keep your seatbelt on, put your vehicle in park, mm-hmm. Take your foot off the brake and turn your lights off. And we oftentimes get some pushback on that last one. Why do I need to turn my lights off? Why my foot off the brake? What happens inside of a dust storm when you lose all concept and all visibility and you can't see in front of you, people are going to follow what they can see, and sometimes that may be your lights. And when you lose that depth perception, the next thing you know, you've hit that car. Yeah. So the goal is to keep people from following you where you are. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we ask you to turn your lights off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, so, when people are responding, or when you are responding to a monsoon or to a dust storm or an accident, are there any things that you see that happen that are sort of like big mistakes you wish drivers didn't make during a monsoon or during a dust storm?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest mistakes we see is that people maintain the normal speed, mm-hmm. or even above the speed limit. One of the biggest things we ask people to do is just to slow down. Mm-hmm. Secondly is to give additional space between your car and the car in front of you. When you lose that visibility, I promise you're going to want to have extra space in case you have to stop quickly. And that goes for the rain as well. What a lot of people don't understand, when it rains heavy, it actually forces the oil from the roadway to the top and makes for a very slick surface. So you need that additional time to perceive a threat and to hit the brakes and stop. Mm-hmm. So slowing down is a big one, and then providing or giving yourself as much following distance as you can. And again, if you prepare ahead of time, oftentimes it can all be avoided. You can pull off of the roadway, or you can just delay your travel a little bit because you see that these storms are going to be rolling through. Mm-hmm. The dust storms come quickly. So if you pull off into a gas station or the next exit, you won't be sitting there very long before that dust storm is come and gone and you can get back on your way.
Mm-hmm. So what about with a downpour? I'm curious, are there any tips that would be different as opposed to a dust storm? What if all of a sudden I'm out in my car on the highway and it starts pouring down rain? What do I do?
Right. Now, this is a great question, because one of the things that we ask you not to do in a dust storm, we ask you to do in a rainstorm, which is to keep your headlights on or to turn them on if they're not already on. Mm-hmm. And again, this is to help provide more visibility for you and visibility to the other cars. some of our monsoon downpours can be very heavy and you can lose a lot of visibility. So if it's not something that you're comfortable with or accustomed driving to, there is, again, nothing wrong with you pulling off the roadway and waiting for that storm to pass, or exiting before you get into that downpour, and making sure that you're safe. But again, seat belts are going to be a key. If something happens, you want to have that on. Mm-hmm. That is, it surprises me in 2020 how often we still see people not put that seat belt on. Mm-hmm. It's 3 seconds and it's a lifesaver.
Yeah, absolutely. And going off of that, has there ever been an experience where you've responded to a collision that's taken place because of a dust storm or because of rain that's kind of stuck out in your mind, and would you be comfortable sharing that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one in particular where this dust storm actually affected not only the I-10, but Interstate 8. Mm-hmm. And so we had two very big incidents going on at the same time, one on Interstate 8 and then one down on I-10 near Picacho. And I had to actually responded from one to the other. The first one I responded to involved multiple vehicles. And one of the issues we saw there again were people following too close, not slowing down. We oftentimes see people running into the back of semis in these dust storms because they're off on the right lane, they're driving slower, mm-hmm. and we're just impatient. And so we have people run into the back of these cars or into the back of the semis. I've seen fatalities as a result, unfortunately. And then going off to the one, I responded from the I-10 to the I-8 on the same day. We had so much dust on the interstate, so much dirt on the interstate after that storm, we actually had to bring in a front loader. ADOT had to bring in a tractor to remove all of that dirt. There was about 6 to 8 inches of dirt across the highway. So we had shutdowns for quite a while. But again, it's a very dangerous situation, not only for the people driving through, but for those of us that have to respond to those. So we are getting better and better. Oftentimes, if we know that this is going to happen, and we've seen this recently, where we will just shut the interstate down ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we know that people are impatient, they just want to get to where they're going, but I promise you it's for a good reason. We don't take shutting down an interstate lightly. So if we're shutting it down, it is for a good reason. The other thing we will do, if it's a persistent rain or a persistent dust storm, but it's light enough where we can kind of see through it, we will actually take people through there. We will escort them through those areas. So it's slow go, but we just want to get you to your destination safely.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And what advice would you give Pinal County residents to prepare for the upcoming monsoon season?
Absolutely. Make sure your vehicle is ready. Mm-hmm. Make sure you have good tires, your windshield wiper blades are good, just the basic routine maintenance for your vehicle. Secondly, make sure your seat belts are all functioning and that you use them. If you're stuck in a situation where we have to close the interstate because of crashes, you're going to want to make sure you have food in your car, medications, inhalers, whatever you may need to sustain you for several hours, including water, mm-hmm. Because obviously the monsoons happen at a very warm time of year. So all that preparation is done before you even get on the highway. Mm-hmm. Again, checking your route, making sure that it looks clear. If we have the interstate closed, you may want to delay your travel if you can see a storm is going to be rolling through. We're getting better and better at predicting these, but again, they're still fairly unpredictable. Maybe you delay or you reroute your travel. So all of that can be done before you even hit the highway. Mm-hmm. And then once you get on the highway, it's those basic safety things that we talk about over and over again. Your speed, your following distance, using your turn signals, just the courteous things that we ask drivers to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, with monsoons and rain also comes flooding, and flooding tends to be a problem for motorists. So I'm curious, what advice do you have for drivers if they're dealing with flash flooding, or how to prepare for it?
Yeah, we actually have a law in Arizona. It is called the Stupid Motorist Law. That is what it has been titled. We ask just not to drive through it. It's not worth the risk. Mm-hmm. We've had to assist on many rescues, mostly using our helicopter. But a lot of that flooding tends to happen on county or surface streets. So in those instances, we'd be assisting the local county. But I think their message would be the same. Same with the fire department, is just don't even drive through them. If you know where the washes run, where the floods happen, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Sergeant Cameron, Lead, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. We love doing this. Our goal obviously is to share the message, right? To share this safety message, to make sure all of our Pinal County residents are safe, all the residents of this state are safe. Everyone takes a part. We do our part as law enforcement, but truthfully, we're a very small part of this public safety pie, if you will. It really takes everyone, every driver, everyone's responsibility to make sure we're all safe.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.